sit back and relax. You're listening to the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guests for this episode were Ian Karnell, CEO of VastAdvisor, and his twin brother, Jeremi, former head of Envestnet's Data and Analytics Division. It was quite the 2-for-1 special episode. You're really going to enjoy this one, I believe. We covered a lot of ground about VastAdvisor's product. We talked about the problem they're solving, which is inefficient advisor growth. Talked about the solution, which of course is VastAdvisor's AI Growth OS platform. We talked about how it works, the orchestrated AI agents that they are delivering to the market. But before we start the interview, let me do a quick Ezra Group plug. Building wealth tech software is difficult, but for most firms, the real challenge isn't product development. It's figuring out how to actually sell into the wealth management industry. Enterprise wealth management firms have long sales cycles, complex decision-making processes, legacy platforms, and deeply entrenched incumbents. Many wealth tech vendors spend years burning capital trying to understand how this market really works. Ezra Group helps wealth tech firms accelerate that process. For more than 2 decades, we've advised RIAs, broker-dealers, custodians, and enterprise wealth management firms that technology vendors are trying to reach. We understand how these firms evaluate technology, how buying decisions actually get made, and why many vendor sales strategies fail. We work with wealth tech providers on go-to-market strategies, competitive analysis, pricing strategy, positioning, product market alignment, and distribution planning designed specifically for the wealth management industry. If your firm is trying to grow revenue, improve market positioning, or break into larger enterprise relationships, visit EzraGroup.com to schedule a call today. And now, my standard housekeeping chores. Please subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and also leave us a comment if you like this episode. Make sure to check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And if you're a software vendor, like we were talking about before, please make sure to register your product at our Wealth Tech Integration Score vendor portal at EzraGroup.com/register. And now, let's kick this thing off. All right. I'm excited to introduce our next guests. We have a two-for-one special today. We have Ian Karnell, CEO of VastAdvisor, and his brother Jeremi, the former head of data solutions at Envestnet. So we go, Ian, you talk first so people can hear you.
Hi. I'm Ian Karnell.
And Jeremi, now you talk and people will hear you.
Hey, Craig. Thanks
and
for
no one will know the
us.
difference. This is going to be really hard. I just realized that because you guys are identical twins, no one's going to know what's going on. I'm going to have to preface every question, Ian, Jeremi. We'll figure that out. All right, so we have Ian and Jeremi, and they are brothers. And we had them both. I thought we thought it'd be fun to have everyone together here. But we're talking about VastAdvisor. But you guys are together right now. Where are you calling in from?
From Dana Point, California. I just made the move from Austin, Texas.
Where is that? Where is Dana Point, California?
It's right in between San Diego and LA. It's in
Orange County.
Yeah, it's in Orange County.
Wait, is it called Data Point?
Dana.
Dana Point. Like Data Point. Yeah, that'd be great. Perfect for you guys. Where do you live? Data Point.
Data Point. Beyond
Start a new town called Data Point, California. It's got to be in Silicon Valley. I drove right by you guys because you're between San Diego and LA.
Yep.
I drove by there a couple times because I've got a daughter who lives in LA now. Yep. She moved there, and a lot of conferences are in San Diego all of a sudden.
Yep. There, yeah.
I've been renting cars.
I'm about 30 minutes north of that. Our house.
I drove right by your house.
Yeah, right off of Pacific Coast Highway. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stop by there next time.
You're always welcome.
I will be there. We'll do this. We'll do this in person. Cool. All right, let's get this going. We only have a short amount of time. So, Ian, please give us a 30-second elevator pitch for VastAdvisor.
Yeah, absolutely. VastAdvisor is an AI-powered organic growth operating system for wealth management firms. We replace referrals, lead brokers, fragmented marketing tools with a system that continuously learns using your data to identify the right prospects, launch the right campaigns, and improve performance over time. So instead of buying leads from third-party lead brokers like the Smart Assets, the Zoes, the Finnies of the world, or guessing what works, Firms build a proprietary growth engine and a growth model that compounds over time, lowering the customer acquisition cost, improving targeting, and turning marketing into a measurable, scalable asset for their firm.
Excellent. Anything you want to add, Jeremy?
No, I think this is an amazing solution that's sort of coming at the right time, at the right place, given the dynamics that exist in the industry that everyone that's listening to this podcast, I'm sure, are intimately aware of, which is referrals don't really scale in the wealth industry. Lead brokers don't create leverage for them, and generic AI. As far as the overwhelming use of just, again, general accounts like ChatGPT or Claude don't create, they generally create content, but not really intelligence. So there's not really a solid feedback loop that helps any type of organic growth be able to evolve over time. And so I think, as Ian will probably get into more details on this episode, he's
he will.
Tackled all of it.
Right, that's the goal. Right. So Ian, back to you. So let's start at the 30,000 foot level and kind of go down from there. So we're talking about growth. We talk about building a growth engine and a growth strategy. I think most RIAs think they have a growth strategy, but as Jeremy just mentioned, it's mostly referrals and buying leads, and that isn't scaling very well. So what is broken about that specifically, and how do you think your software can help clients generate new leads?
It's a great question, Craig. It's not a marketing problem. It's an infrastructure problem. The industry that we're in has built world-class systems for managing assets, but never built systems for acquiring clients. And so what you end up getting, as we've talked about, are referrals that are unpredictable and not scalable. They're relying on somebody else's relationships. These third-party lead platforms that are expensive. You're going to spend a few $100s for every lead. And by the way, they're selling those same leads to your competitors. So you're competing against your competitors for those shared leads. And then fragmented marketing platforms that are hard to drive kind of end-to-end attribution. So it's kind of the premise of why I think CAC is at over $3,000. Like Kitchus just wrote about this recently, and it's rising. There's no real feedback loop. That's continuously optimizing the system and lowering CAC over time. So if there's no system that learns, there's no compounding that can be achieved. So I think that's the problem.
Well, that's a problem, but there's still RIAs who think that's fine, right? Yep. We worked with one RIA, and this is the real number. They were spending over $150,000 a month on leads, but they're only converting under 5%.
Yeah,
and they thought that was fine.
And they thought they thought it was fine because they were making enough money off the ones that they were converting.
When you have a 15-to-1 LTCV to CAC ratio, you can do that. Now with fee compression, that will ultimately have to change over time, right? We're going to have to get more realistic about what are practical acquisition costs.
Yeah. Well, and you've got the emerging sort of digital first audience that just will find advisors in a very different way than their parents did. Absolutely. So you're going to have to be in those channels and know how to operate effectively.
That's correct.
Do we have any numbers on the emerging digital first audience?
Well, so we do have those numbers. I have to send this. I don't have them off the top of my head. But we know that over $80 trillion are moving to these digital first audiences. We also know, like, if you look at financial services and you look at paid media spend, insurance dominates that category right now. They spend more than any other sector within financial services. The fastest growing sector is in wealth management, though. And so it's catching up, and I think it will surpass insurance in the next few years. And that's, there's a reason for that, right? You follow the money, you follow where your audiences are, you follow where the next generation of investors are. They're not hanging out at steak restaurants, listening to seminars. They still, I think
I get those all the time. I still get those postcards. Come to a steak dinner.
Yeah.
It's very tempting. I keep saying I should go.
But you have a decent sized population of self-directed high net worth individuals spending time in Fortran and Reddit channels. Reddit released their media targeting capabilities recently, like a year and a half ago. And so you can now beyond just Reddit, you can start to target these individuals in a very programmatic way. So,
okay. So Ian, there's, I want to talk about, I want to dial back a bit. I know we didn't talk about this, but you came from a previous company called Trulytics.
Yep.
Right. And I thought it was a very cool business model. But so after starting that company, which was acquired by Envestnet, by the way, what made you, just give us a quick 30-second on Trulytics, and then what made you move into the marketing area from that?
Well, it had to do with Trulytics. So, so Trulytics was a practice management tool that was built to help RIAs measure the intrinsic value of their practice across 150 different key performance indicators. Now, one of those KPIs was related to your organic growth rate. And so one of the things that my brother and I identified very early on was that the RIAs that had built systematic organic growth systems that were scalable, predictable, repeatable, we were seeing in our data within Trulytics, they were getting valued at over 2x the firms that hadn't done that were still reliant on opaque referrals or third-party lead brokers or seminars. And so we really kind of focused on that data point, and it became abundantly clear that was a real opportunity in the industry if we went and focused on that and attacked that. And so that was one of the core motivations I had right after we sold to Envestnet. That would be an interesting problem to solve in our next startup. And then I was asked while at Envestnet to put together a strategy. I was leading strategy for our data and analytics division at Envestnet. And Bill and Farouk had asked me to put together a strategy for an alternative to smart asset that would natively integrate with the Envestnet stack that we could bring to market. We did that. And it became abundantly clear to me that it would see the light of day much more quickly if this was built outside of Envestnet. And so I took the opportunity to do that and left on really good terms. We have a great relationship with Envestnet today. We're working through, kind of an InfoSec process with them today. Jeremy was foundational to spearheading some of the use cases that we identified with Envestnet. But yeah, so that became another catalyst for why we launched VastAdvisor. So.
Excellent. Thanks. Yeah. So talking about VastAdvisor as a marketing platform, I'm going to combine a couple of the questions we discussed. So there's so many marketing tools out there. MarTech is so overwhelmed. Like we think our area with Michael Keats and I do the Advisor Tech map together. We've been doing it for 7 years. It's almost 600 applications. The MarTech map has not 6,000, but 10,000, literally 10,000 applications on this map. How do you guys differentiate yourself when we've got HubSpot and so many other applications out there that do marketing, and there's a lot of AI startups now coming into the space?
Yeah, thank God I didn't build a marketing platform. It's one of the things that we do. MarTech equals campaigns. VastAdvisor equals a system that gets smarter over time. Like we didn't build this to just be a marketing platform. We built this to be what we call a governed AI growth operating system that's powered by what we call the advisor intelligence loop. And so we unify audiences, creative compliance, and performance into one loop. Instead of disconnected tools, you get a learning system that improves targeting, improves messaging, and conversion continuously. We're building fine-tuned models at the enterprise level and at the firm level that are continuously learning and optimizing your results. That's a huge difference between us and the standard marketing tools that you have access to today.
Do you have any stats off the top of your head about how the improvements are going? Like how fast is it?
So yeah, we just launched. Great question. I will. We just launched.
I want to know.
We just launched VastAdvisor Enterprise at Future Proof Citywide just a couple of weeks ago, and so we're in the process of onboarding a number of RIAs, and we're working through procurement processes with a number of the large enterprises that we're also focused on, the aggregators, the broker dealers, the managers, the OSJs. So, and you know what? It would be a good follow-up podcast, Craig, where we can break down the data and really dig into it. And I would love to have our chief data officer, Dr. Ido Araldi. He was a former business partner of my brother and I when he was a Harvard professor of statistical analysis, one of the leading minds in the world. when it comes to causal analysis, machine learning, large data sets. He should be on that show and breaking down the data with us. So
Yeah, keep fishing for free marketing. Yeah, I get it. I understand. But Jeremi, from your point of view, as the former head of data solutions at Envestnet, what did you see when it came to advisory firms and how they're handling their data and how they're managing it? So will they be able to plug into this? Do they even have the core data sources set up properly to be able to feed into these kind of models?
Yeah, I think they will. This is a pretty straightforward one, right? It's an underutilized channel to begin with. As Michael Kitchus continues to always talk about, paid channels are very much under leveraged. Plugging into something like a Vast, either at an enterprise level, at RIA, or even independent advisor level, is going to start providing them that data loop that is going to be a competitive moat for them, right? And in so many of the systems that they're leveraging today, they may or may not have access to that. It's been my point of view at Envestnet in particular that it's probably not a day one need for a lot of these firms, but over time, as they begin to continue to fine tune their own specific AI solutions that are really being fed by multiple systems, that really is a moat for everyone. And Ian and the crew at Vast has built that from the ground up. It's core to their system. It's not an add-on. It's not an afterthought. It very much is a core. And so I think out of any of the solutions that exist out there, the fact that this is built with that sort of front and center differentiates it dramatically and is a great stepping stone for advisors as they adopt tool sets to build out that competitive moat.
Yeah, one thing we've been working on at Ezra Group, and we're a consulting firm, is helping wealth management firms get their data house in order so they can use AI tools like VastAdvisor or others more efficiently.
Right.
Have you seen that when, in your days at Envestnet, that a lot of the firms are still having trouble with their data architectures?
So I think a lot of firms today are taking their data strategy a lot more serious than they probably did even a year ago. You've probably seen that as well.
Yes.
I think it's a little bit late to the game in some respects, but at least I think the industry overall is beginning to move in that direction more seriously than, let's say, even just a year ago. You see a sort of a renewed focus and interest in getting the right heads of or chief data officers in place, that they're building out the right data architectures, building out the right data sort of infrastructure to be able to support this. And that's going to take some time, depending upon the size of the firm and their resources. I think it's going to look obviously very different a year from now than it does today. But I think everything's moving in that direction. Yeah.
We're all moving in the same direction.
Yes.
One thing we're talking about, Ian, was orchestrating multiple AI agents. And so everyone's talking about this. I've done presentations on building AI agents, and it's all the rage. But is this really something from an architectural standpoint that is providing benefits now? And how are they structured? And how can they coordinate tasks, like you mentioned, audience discovery, creative generation, and campaign optimization?
Yeah. I mean, we don't rely on a single model. We orchestrate multiple agents and sub-agents through workflows. So we have an audience agent that identifies reachable, high propensity ideal client profile segments using money in motion signals. We have a creative agent that generates compliant messaging aligned to those ideal client profiles. We have an optimization agent that reallocates budgets and adjusts campaigns. We have a compliance agent that screens everything against the SEC and FINRA guidelines real time. We have a sub agent that monitors the SEC and FINRA sites 24/7 and surfaces anything that's newly published that's a modification of an existing guideline or a new guideline, surfaces those in our software and retrains our agents and sub-agents accordingly. So we don't treat, in that example, we don't treat compliance at a policy level. We treat it as as part of the architecture, much like we also treat governance. That's another kind of important aspect of AI tools, right? That's often kind of overlooked in the discussion, and the SEC requires it, right? So, any agent, sub-agent, or workflow that's driving an output, you need to be able to time date stamp that. You need to be able to understand the decision that was made, how it arrived at that decision. And so we built that within the platform as well, so that, we have end-to-end governance. We can track, we can observe all of the AI, we can record it, and we can audit it, and then we can export it for regulatory submission if needed. So that's, so they operate, so all of the agents operate in sequence, but they share context. So outputs improve across the system in a coordinated way.
Ian, if this works the way you've just described, I think this can be an incredibly valuable tool for wealth management firms, because you're combining what they're now paying for, multiple applications, right? We've, as I mentioned with the Advisor Tech map that Michael and I do, there's a bunch of lead gen tools that just look for money in motion signals. That's really all that they do.
Yep.
Then there's a bunch of other tools in the digital marketing space that manage campaigns, run campaigns. And there's there's compliance tools that monitor FINRA and SEC.
That's right.
But you're combining all those with separate agents to one application.
Correct. In a governed way. Yes.
I don't think you're charging enough for this. If I can give you some pricing advice. No, so seriously, but so this sounds really cool. If it works the way you're saying it works. So if I can rephrase, so the audience agent is looking for money in motion signals and feeding that to what?
Well, so it's one of the things it's looking at. We have money and movement signals that we're ingesting, but we're also ingesting data with respect to the geographic footprint that represents the RIA, the service profile that represents the RIA, to the extent that they have articulated what niches they focus on. To the extent that they were too broad, our agents are designed to take a broad understanding of who would be their ideal client profile and niche it down. And then we're pulling data from Pew Research, from Meta for Business, from Boston Consulting Group. By the way, we source all of these data points into the base model to form three ideal client profiles that are bespoke to that specific RIA. We also give them the capabilities to build their own audience profiles as well. They can describe it and let our agents then go build that audience, or they can manually input it. They can put age ranges, they can put like demographic data points, AUM ranges. But our platform surfaces psychographic insights as well. We want to understand and surface the key values and motivators of an audience. We want to surface the key pain points of an audience. Most advisors really, do a decent job describing what's the AUM range that they really want to target. And they're all kind of in that same mass affluent, ultra high net worth category, but they struggle with really articulating, do they understand? Have they done the foundational research to understand what's keeping their clients up at night? What are their key pain points? What's motivating them to what do they dream about? And those are the things that really are critically important to go to market. Those are the things that help align your firm narrative with the intent of the audience. So those are the additional data signals that we also bring to bear in our platform.
You mentioned what do they dream about?
Yeah.
When that leads me into my next question of AI dreaming, AI hallucinations.
Yep.
So what kind of governance do you have inside this platform? How do you make sure your output is reliable and compliant and not hallucinating?
Yeah, a great question. Again, we treat it at the architectural level, not at the policy level. So we built governance into the architecture, not as a layer on top. So key controls, the fine-tuned models are trained on firm-specific data, compliance rules. We have pre-approved language libraries, real-time compliance screening before deployment, and full audit trails, like I mentioned before, for every single AI decision that is observed, recorded, and audited. And so
and automated workflows related to that observability as well.
Yeah. So every decision is explainable, can be reviewed. In this space, mostly right isn't acceptable at all. So everything is grounded in firm data and rules. It's foundational to who we are and what we do. And again, I mean, we're trying to mitigate the existential risk that I believe is growing rapidly in this sector, with advisors using generic AI tools like Claude or ChatGPT and becoming increasingly reliant on that. And so Those do nothing to mitigate compliance or governance risk. So we had to build that from the ground up into this tool.
You may not know this, but there are other companies building stuff just like what you're building.
Oh, great.
You're not the only ones building
That's
it.
great news. I loved hearing that.
Of course. So everyone's built, a lot of people are building this. We're seeing tons of different AI tools for lead gen and marketing and pushing out data and pulling data from all different sources to make these targeted messages. At what point do we all become so overwhelmed by targeted messages? Because everyone's got an AI sending very targeted, very specific, niche, profile, Pew Research, psychographic, inside messages to everyone, where we just ignore it all.
Well, I mean, we have that.
I've already shut your company down.
No. You
already hit the top. You succeed and then you failed already.
We have a signal to noise issue today that has nothing to do with AI. We're constantly bombarded with messages every single day through the commercial, to the televisions that we watch, the billboards that we drive past, everything, right? The podcasts that we listen to. It's thousands and thousands of messages a day, and so that's kind of the nature of the world that we live in today. I think for the most part, foundationally, they don't take into account nuance with respect to insights that like surface key pain points or values and motivators or real world events that are going on that either present headwinds or tailwinds to those behavioral signals. And so I think one, the world is dynamic, it's real time, and that these systems will continue to learn and get smarter and better. I think we have a lot of room ahead of us to get better with respect to how marketing resonates with an individual on a one-to-one basis. And this industry, wealth, is not guilty of that. For sure. I mean, you look at the top 10 RIA websites, and I mean, I think maybe one or two of them might be an outlier, but for the most part, they all sound alike, look alike. They all, articulate the same value proposition. They do very little to differentiate themselves, and they do even less in articulating, what niches they're servicing and what's their core value proposition for each one of those niches. And so I think we have a lot of room ahead of us before we even get to that. That would be a good problem to have, Craig, if we were there. That would be a good problem to have. We're not even close.
Whenever we talk about advisor websites, I always bring up Meg Carpenter created a video, I think it's probably 7-8 years ago already, where it was a joke. It was a spoof video on advisors, and it showed the advisor websites like, we're financial advisors. On our website, we have a picture of an anchor and people walking on the beach. So to let you know that we understand. And then we specialize in very targeted client profiles. We work with retired people, not retired people, widows, non-widows, old people, young people, business owners, not business owners. But
that's amazing.
Right, so could be Stratton Oakmont and put a line on it.
Yeah, it was hysterical. So basically, if you market to everyone, you're marketing to no one, right?
Exactly. That's exactly, right. and that is the challenge that we have in this market sector today. Like I said, I think what you articulated would be a great problem to have. We're far from having that problem today.
Okay, so saith Jeremi Karnell at this point. All right, we're just going to leave that. We're going to agree to disagree there. All right, so I want to talk about attribution, but we need to keep the answer to a minute because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So attribution wealth management is a problem. How do you track a prospect from some anonymous digital signal? Maybe it's a Reddit post or some TikTok engagement, all the way through to a funded account. What's the process there?
Yeah, so we have signals with respect to the ad platforms that we are integrated with. So we see clicks, we see impressions, we see clicks, we see content engagement. So, we see anonymous signals, we see identity resolution with respect to the form fills, be it through the lead forms that our platform automatically configures for Google, LinkedIn, Meta, and other media platforms, and or the quiz forms integrated into an advisor's funnel page specific to that audience campaign, as well as CRM syncs, right, through our CRM integrations. Funnel progression through the CRM syncs will give us the lead to meeting the client signals so we can track, lead velocity KPIs. And then, custodial outcomes is ultimately the goal. We want to be able to ultimately have integrations with the likes of like an Envestnet, where we can begin to do that last mile attribution around account funding. So most platforms stop at leads. We want to track through all the way to revenue. We don't have that last mile piece in place yet, but that's ultimately the vision and the goal. So that's how you actually optimize CAC.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ian. So over to Jeremi. So you can get the last word because we're running out of time. Okay. That's something that I want to mention. Envestnet and your former employer, Envestnet, both of your former employers, Envestnet, has an advantage in that they understand the last mile attribution. And we've Envestnet hired Ezra Group years ago when we were talking about data before you took over the data, two other data chiefs ago, and we were recommending that they track last mile attribution because no one else has it except Orion and that level where they can see, well, I made a recommendation to the advisor to sell this or to change this. They actually did it, and here's the results. So Jeremi, from your point of view, coming most recently from Envestnet, what's Envestnet's advantage? Is there a reason why they want to work with a company like VastAdvisor, like your brother's company? Or should they just build it themselves?
I don't think they should build it themselves, or they would ever build it themselves. I do see them probably in the market for a solution like this. They don't have anything that especially is top of funnel, leveraging paid sources. That's just not a strength of theirs. And it's not a strength of many of their competitors either. It's just not a place where they've lived. And so given the market and given how competitive it is, I think they're all especially Envestnet today, now that they're a privately held company and they've got Bain's pocketbooks behind them, I think they're looking for ways to continue to find green space to grow. And this is one of those areas that they have not tackled. And so I think from my perspective, from my time at Envestnet, I would not be shocked if they look at this or solutions like this very seriously in the near future.
Well, all their competitors are privately owned, right? Orion's privately owned, Advisors are privately owned, Black Diamond's privately owned. And so they're all in the same boat, and they all have the same data access. So they're sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, they are, but they just don't have those top of the funnel signals at all, right? And so that gives them a great opportunity to sort of marry those two.
All right. Well, we are out of time. I've got 10 more questions I could have asked, but we'll have to save them for the next podcast.
That's right.
Jeremi, you're unemployed. You have nothing to promote. Ian, where can we find more information about VastAdvisor?
A couple of different places. Go to vastadvisor.ai, our website. You can also find us on LinkedIn. You can search my name, Ian Karnell, on LinkedIn. You can find our VastAdvisor page on LinkedIn that way, or just type in VastAdvisor. Those are the two core ways to find us.
Excellent. Thanks for being here, guys. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Hey, it's Craig again. Here are my top 3 takeaways from this episode. Number 1. VastAdvisor is an AI-powered organic growth operating system that replaces fragmented marketing tools and unreliable referrals with a continuously learning system to identify the right prospects, launch targeted campaigns, and improve performance over time. VastAdvisor has governance and compliance built into the core architecture with explainable, auditable AI decisions and automated workflows to mitigate the risks of generic AI tools. Integrating with custodial data provides the critical last mile attribution. And 3, VastAdvisor aims to decimate the third-party lead broker model by empowering RIAs to own their growth data and models rather than just renting access, enabling them to build scalable, high-performing growth engines. All right, that's it. You've hit the end of another episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. Thanks for listening. But before you go, head to our website, EzraGroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.